Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. Here we are, second day of the week before Christmas. If you're not ready, it's getting real late, folks. And I hope your Christmas is more than rushing around for a last-minute present or something. As I've been doing for the last week and even this one, talking about the Christmas story. Today I want to talk about chapter 2 in Luke. I started it yesterday. I'm going to do a little more today. Beginning with verse 6, we find these words. And while they were there, the time came for her baby to be born. She gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him snugly in strips of cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no lodging available for them. Well, I talked about why they went to Bethlehem yesterday. And today we talk about what happened when they got there. Now, I know that they were supposed to register for the census. And I guess they did that. The Bible never says. God does crazy things to get us to where we need to be at the very moment we need to be there, even though we don't understand. But what's significant here is that they get to Bethlehem, and then she goes into labor. Now, when my wife went into labor, it was not sudden and unexpected, because we knew about medical issues and how these things tend to work along. Once in a while, somebody just gets surprised. But usually there's some warning signals or time or a few days. Mary and Joseph don't know about that stuff. All they know is she's really pregnant. And while they're there, boom, now is the time. Now see, they did not know why the time was so significant. Well, yeah, they've been told some things about it, but they didn't have a really good understanding because they didn't have that ability. They couldn't see all of history. You and I can now see this event through the lens of 2,000 years of looking at it and hearing about it, being told about it. They didn't have that. Oh, they had promises of the Savior, but let's face it, even after all that was said, do you really think they were convinced this guy was going to be the Savior of the world, the Son of God? I'm sure they believed it, but they didn't quite believe it. And then she goes into labor. As far as we know, there was nobody else there. I can't imagine giving birth without somebody to help out. But there's no indication there was. And this process, which was really, really mysterious, has now come upon them in a strange land, in a strange place, all alone. Doesn't get more profound than that. And she does what I guess mothers have done for centuries. She wrapped the baby up. She put him in a manger. There wasn't a bed. I don't know exactly what the manger looked like. I kind of doubt it looks like all these pictures we have. It was born in a stable, and stables are not the best places in the world. Now, maybe if they just cleaned it out, that would have been one thing, but I doubt the innkeeper did that. She gives birth to this baby, and you can just imagine this new mom holding this child that was foretold and promises were made. And all of this stuff about what was going to happen. But as far as She knows at that moment it's just her baby. The miraculousness of this moment is profound. God, who makes the world, chooses to come in the flesh in the form of an innocent, helpless baby, totally dependent on this mom and this dad. Now think about it. If God was willing to work in this fashion, as opposed to just taking over and showing everybody how it is, if he was willing to be so humble and so vulnerable for your and my sake, can you even begin to imagine the amount of love and compassion that was behind that? I don't think I can. But that's the story of Christmas. I don't know what Mary and Joseph thought initially. Now, we'll be reading more about the visitors they had, and that should have been even more confusing to them. I know it would have been if I'd been there. But here they are. Try to picture this. They're in a stable. At the very most, we'll say it's dark. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of light in there. They're in a straw with the animals. I don't want to say in the cold, but it's not real warm. And she goes into labor and gives birth, and she and Joseph and the baby are there, all to themselves. I can only imagine what God said to them at that point. But I know that when we put ourselves in a place where we are vulnerable, God will speak to us. When we're arrogant and proud and don't need anything, it's hard to hear God. But when we're quiet and still, as it probably was during that evening, then we're able to open our hearts and hear God. And this Christmas, I hope you do that. In the midst of all of the noise and the good stuff, I hope you still find a moment in quietness and stillness where you can humbly say, God, speak to me. Show me what I should do. Well, we're going to get to the rest of the story, which is kind of a celebration time, the rest of this week, and it's just an amazing story. But let's don't get ahead of ourselves. Let's be sure and take the time to think about the moment when Mary and Joseph and the baby were in the stable, not all by themselves, but only with God. Well, I hope you have a great day. If you have a prayer concern or a need, let us know. We'll do everything we can, as fast as we can, to help meet your need. Until tomorrow, God bless you. I'll talk to you again.